Live here. Let me turn
We
down.
are we are live.
We are live. Let me turn down my volume on the phone here so I can try to monitor the chat.
I see. Do you want more lighting? Is that better? More lighting?
Well, is it making you squint though?
No, not at all.
Okay. Todd Hobeck, you get firsties.
Huh.
He's on. All right, there we go. So now I got everything all set up here. Welcome, everybody, and I mean by everybody I mean four. So I'll probably make various disclaimers during the chat tonight to please don't say anything about Captain Marvel. I have not seen it yet. Have you seen it, Anthony?
No.
Okay. So I'm sure someone probably will throw something in the comments so to be cruel, but hopefully not. Please don't spoil it for me. Maurice is here. Hey, yickety yakety, Todd Hobeck. All right, they're up to 8. Excellent.
All right, here we go.
So I changed my setup a little bit, tried to make it so it's more level, so I'm looking at you. So it didn't look like I was looking up or down or however it was before.
Yeah.
And you can see daylight savings time is worked out nice for me here. I actually have a little light. I came home in the light tonight, so that was really nice. So it was about 48 degrees here. Tomorrow's supposed to be 60. So spring is kind of trying to get here, I guess. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's coming soon and here to stay.
Yeah. And it looks like, the Northeast, though, they've really gotten hit pretty good. So, I'm kind of fortunate that passed us by. A lot of people have been sick. We heard in from Dr. Von Chilla. I don't know if he'll make the chat tonight. He's been battling some kind of flu thing all week. So today, I guess the first day he really kind of started to feel a little bit better. So that's good news. You always worry about people, if you don't hear from them, they're not on YouTube, you don't see them commenting. It's worrisome. And then on a better note, I'm sure you all have seen the triumphant return of YouTube's very own ETA Nick. He's back, and he is, aside from the content he's had in the queue, he is just he's like the Jack Kirby of comic videos. He can just crank out content like nobody's business. So
that's right. He's back, everyone. So
he really didn't ever leave, I don't think. He just didn't comment on things. I'm sure he's been watching all y'all's videos and kind of keeping an eye on things. I was joking with him a little bit that some of the people maybe needed a little bit of a beat down. So I'm glad Nick's back because he provides that.
Yes, they do. But sometimes they're questionable comments.
Yeah. To each his own, I guess. I try not to worry about too much. I don't like to engage in banter either with that kind of thing. So
well, you're not going to win. I mean, it's meant to, to irk you most of the time.
Yeah. I just try to help and let people know what's worked for me, what I enjoy, and if they want to follow that path, great. If they want to find their own path, that's good too. So anyway, that's just where we are with it. I didn't buy anything this week. Some of you may or may not know my birthday is this weekend, and I was lucky enough to get this little gem in the mail from a certain Reaper that we know, and I'm going to hold on to it till my birthday and open it up. So thank you, Anthony, for that. I can't wait to.
I didn't send you anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, your address did.
I think you're just sending yourself gifts because no one gets you anything. Like, oh, look at all the gifts I got.
Oh, look at this. Oh, you shouldn't have. Yeah.
Then the camera goes on. He's crying. No one remembers him.
Did you get anything this week? Official sponsor, everybody. I'm loving these new series of cans they do. It's pretty cool. Got a bear on it.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I did, but that's for comic book haul number 33 in June.
I gave up the numbering system on my videos. I just use the date now.
I don't have, I really don't have that many comic book hauls. I mean, you say, well, I'm up to next month 32 comes out. But, you look at other people on YouTube, they're like comic book haul 157, all this stuff. Mine have been coming out every other, ooh, look at that. Looks like chocolate milk.
Isn't it great? Look at it. It falls down. Isn't it cool looking? Look at it. Isn't it gorgeous?
Jeez.
It's a sight to behold.
I bet you it's something.
Ah, you'd be putting down 6 or 7 of these, and you'd be having a loan of me puking finger.
No, but like I was saying, so many people, a lot of people on YouTube, they have so many comic book hauls.
Yeah.
And when I look at mine, I've been putting them out every other month since 2015. So
Yeah.
30.
I think a lot of that though has to do with what level they're buying at. Like guys that are just trying to fill runs up. I remember when I first came back, I was like, I was the first time I got off a boat for 4 years. I was like a drunken sailor. I was buying everything I get my hands on. And, I could have done a haul every week easily with 15, 20 books. But then as I kind of evolved or changed, it's few and far between now. I'm really trying to focus on. There's really only about, I'd say, 20 books I want now at this point. I have everything else that I really want.
Yeah, I'm still working on my list. A couple prospects, but we'll see. But there are a couple that are slightly off the list that I have gotten or I'm still looking forward to, but not too far off. We don't stray too far away.
Yeah. So let's check in real quick. Who else we got here? We got Gomez. Hello. He used to be on a lot. I haven't seen him in quite a while. Welcome. So there's Silver Age Dave. All right. He's been going crazy with the live chat lately. JJ Bree, if I'm saying that right. Great. I think I saw Silver Age guy too. I think he was in here. I don't know if he's in his new place yet. I kind of miss his old curio cabinet that he used to keep all of his Silver Age books in. Christopher Joy, welcome. And there's 19 of you out there right now, so I'll keep trying to check in. Anyway, in other news, I've been kind of keeping an eye on. There's a few local cons coming up. There's one that they call the Flower City Con, and Rochester used to be known as the Flower City, flour like the powder, because there was a lot of grist mills here. Now they changed the spelling to flower because we have the Lilac Festival, because there's people that come from all over the world to see. There's like 100 different breeds of lilac flowers here, and there's an entire garden, acres and acres you can walk through. They have a big festival. It's like a week long. It's a big deal. So that's why they changed it to the Flower City. So they named the con after it. The thing is I looked at it today, and it's coming up in April, I think 13th and 14th. And there's no one there I want to see. I mean, the artists are bringing in, or, I know them. A lot of them are local guys. So, I know them. I see them all the time at shops and stuff. So it's not that big a deal. And the people that they have that are going to be vendors are local shops. So, again, there's really no, desire for me to go to this thing and, mill about. But we'll see. I haven't talked to Mike. If he ends up going, maybe I'll go, because going to conventions is just a lot of fun, especially if you go with people. It's a lot more fun. And, I can, we talked about what the topic, what we tried to talk about tonight. And I think it was a good one, was your first con. Do you remember your first con? And you can tell about that first, and I'll tell mine.
My first con was in a hotel in Woodbridge, New Jersey. I didn't go to any really, really big con when I first started out. It wasn't until I came back to the hobby that the big con I went to was the New York Comic Con, and went to a couple other bigger cons afterwards. But my first big con was, like a Sheraton hotel.
Yeah.
And
I saw those shows, because I went back in the 90s and the 80s, I would go to those. Yeah,
but something though, I was very impressed. I would go to those every month or every other month, depending if I had money or not. But I very rarely left disappointed. It wasn't, I didn't go in there and just be like, oh God, that sucked. I remember being able to buy some things and seeing a lot of things that I wanted. So it was definitely a sign of a good show. I don't remember seeing any artists or anything like that around. And I didn't care to see any artists around.
It was really just comic guys.
Yes.
And then baseball, football card guys, they were there too.
Yeah. So I that was my first con, and I just would always look them up at the Wizard magazine. That's how I knew when the cons were coming and where they were going to be, and that's what I enjoyed.
Yeah, I think the major differences between like a comic show and a comic con, at a show, there's no artists or writers, there's no cosplay. It's just hardcore guys, walking around with backpacks, and guys with their own shops, or guys that just come and set up at these things. I liked it because at the time it was the only place I could get bags and boards too. So,
Mm.
um, you know, other than mail order, and mail order back then you used to get crushed on shipping boards, especially.
I remember whenever I needed bags and boards, my local con had those.
Yeah, your
The
local shop?
yeah, the local shop. Excuse me, I said local con. Local shop had them. That was run by the retired army guy. Yeah, he had bags and boards there, and that's where I would get those.
So
So
the Sheridan, huh?
the Sheridan, how about that? But it was a
Yeah.
big room.
Yeah. Well, I can remember one of the last ones I went to before I got out of the hobby was at the Marriott, and it was in one of those banquet rooms, like if you ever go to a business seminar or something like that. And it was just tables all around. I didn't have them at the mall, but I remember that one at the Marriott was pretty cool, and that's where I first started noticing guys that were buying to resell. They weren't just there filling their holes, and they weren't just there collecting runs. You could see they were going through, and they didn't have a list, so I knew that they weren't going to. They were just put it out, go through, put it out. And this is at the time where Death in the Family and Batman was huge, and everyone was crazy for that. Those books, I can remember seeing them sell at shows for $100 a piece.
Yeah, they were crazy. I remember when that came out.
Yep.
I mean, the kids. I mean, I wasn't collecting comics at the time, but I remember.
Yep.
In lunchroom, someone had the Death of the Robin. I forget which number it is, Batman 4, whatever. And I remember looking at it and saying, "Oh wow, Robin gets killed." I didn't know there were multiple Robins.
I didn't either. I was
like, "Oh,
touched with Batman and Robin by then." But
yeah.
I did get those, and then I went back, and I think it was year one, where they're very simple, almost monochrome covers, like 405 around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were good. And then, of course, I think I read Night of the Beast or whatever.
Yes, the KG Beast.
Yeah, the KG Beast. Yeah. So that that was Mike Zeck. So of course, I really like Mike Zeck stuff. So that was pretty cool. But that was the last one I remembered. It was just kind of a show. And then when I got back in, like around 2013, I started buying on eBay, stuff like that. And I met Mike, a few months after that, and he told me, "Hey, I'm going to con. It's right here in Rochester. You should go." And I'm like, "I've never been to one." So it is the Rock Con, it's called, and it's more pop culture than comics. But there was a lot of comics there, and there was actually artists and people there you would know from the comic industry. So I'm like, "All right, I'll go." So that was my first real con. Was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Me and Mike went, and Robbie the Robot was there with the arms, and Knight Rider's car was there, and they had Dukes of Hazzard car there. It was such a culture shock for me because I remember comic shows where just a bunch of mouth breathers with gravy stained t-shirts walking around, and just kind of normal people there, and families, and 20 Deadpools, and a whole bunch of people dressed up like whoever else in comic books. So it was different. It was weird. And in wrestling too. I don't remember wrestling somewhere along the line has gotten into the comic culture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crossover with wrestlers, and in gaming was the other thing I was shocked at. I had no idea that gaming was like that. And then you had Funko Pops and all this other stuff. So it was bizarre. I went 2 days, and it was amazing how different the hobby had become in 20 years.
It's always a bonus for me. Whenever I would go to a con or a local show, whatever it be, it's usually cons, that I would find gaming dealers. I like to go to game cons whenever I can, whenever they're around. But that's always a bonus for me, because then I get to look into my other hobby while I'm there and pick up maybe a couple of nice things and so forth.
Like when we were in Doylestown there. We walked down that creepy alley, and there was a really cool,
retro place. Yeah, I bought a couple of things there.
Cool. Yeah, I think I don't know a lot about it. His prices seem really fair.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Yeah,
I mean, he didn't have anything really rare though. But he had some pretty good stuff. I bought a couple of cheap Genesis games there. I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, that turned out well. Yeah, so looking forward, my favorite con I've been to clearly was down in North Carolina last year.
That was my favorite too.
We just had such a good time there. I went 3 days, and then we'd hang out afterward, and that was a lot of fun too. Talking about what we got, and then we kind of kibitz together and say, okay, tomorrow we're going to go to this, we're going to go see Leroy, and then we're going to go get this, get this book, and it was, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That was it was my favorite con by far.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember, but I do like the New York Comic Con, even though it's crowded and all that stuff. And I know a lot of people complain about it, but whenever I go, the only time I found it disappointing was in 2015.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I found it disappointing. I was like, I didn't find anything that I really liked. But usually I have a good time despite the crowds. I don't, it doesn't bother me.
Isn't it the last 2 years, haven't more people gone to New York than San Diego now?
I don't know.
I think
It's
the numbers
possible.
have changed. I think New York has become the one that everyone goes to now.
Well, I don't know. San Diego, they still have their comics and all that stuff, but I think it's really a lot of media there
Yeah.
because of its New York is media too, of course.
Yeah.
But I think just because of the location of Hollywood and all that stuff, they tend to have a lot more going on there that's related to, I guess, non-comics.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But I
Yeah.
would like to go to the San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going. It just sells out so quick, and
yeah, I wouldn't want to go now.
Yeah,
but
but I think I wouldn't mind going to maybe Baltimore this year. Mike tells me it's great, and Steve Charlton 66, he always goes to it. He seems to like a lot, and I think Howler Mouse, he's mentioned going there before too. So I think it seems like it's a real Comic Con too. So that's kind of cool.
I heard a lot of good things. If my comic book shop, my local comic book shop guy goes there, I might want to go with him to tag along. That's but we'll see what happens. He might go there just to meet up with his friend that does deals and all that stuff, or he might drop stuff off. If he goes, I'll say, hey, you want some company for a few hours?
And on Silver Age Dave's latest video, or one of his latest videos, he talked about how he got a vendor tag, and Mike's been offered that a few times, and me as well. So we'll see what happens on Charlotte. We know a couple of the guys, so maybe we could get in on that, because a lot of times you can get in there before they open it up to the public. You can get a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's some of the best stuff's bought. I know the guy from Mr. Personality there from
Mr. Happy?
Yeah, Mr. Happy. He goes around with his glasses on his forehead, and he just plows through every single vendor down there. And
doesn't
behind the boxes. What's that?
Doesn't also Harley Yee do that?
Harley does too, but I don't know if he's as aggressive as
Mr. Happy.
Bob is. Yeah. Bob definitely goes at it.
Well, I'll tell you though, despite the fact that he, well, at least to me, doesn't really seem to acknowledge me, but despite that though, he's been good to me when it comes to deals that I didn't even ask for.
Yeah.
I went to said, here, I said, I like this, and he doesn't look up. He looks, he's writing down in his notebook the price, and then he takes a certain percentage off and gives it to you. I'm like, wow, thank you.
Yeah, and he.
He's a tough grader too.
Yeah, he is. He's a fair grader, I think. Very fair grader. So I don't know. I think he's just just not probably worn down over the years because he's been doing it forever.
But his son seems nice.
Yeah. So good for him. The other one that I'm looking forward to seeing again is obviously Rick from New Force. I want to see how he's doing.
And I think he's doing just fine. I've seen a lot of his Instagram photos of 10 copies of Avengers 1 or 6 copies of X-Men 1, 15 copies of Amazing Fantasy 15. I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah, and Reese's they're fun to see.
They got a lot of good stuff there.
Of course, Leroy. He's probably my favorite one to go. Just kind of hang out his booth. His booth, for whatever reason, just seems to have energy to it. I don't know why. He's got really books that pop, and he has very fair pricing, I'd say. So he moves a ton of books. I'd say of all the dealers down there, he probably moved as much or more than anybody that I saw.
Yeah, I like him. I like him. You see, he's been nice to me, so I take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I like seeing the guys from Super World.
Yes, I always look forward to seeing Ted.
Those are real comic guys too. They're not that the other dealers aren't, but you could tell those guys are really in this comics as much as we all are. And cool.
I buy from Ted almost monthly. So he's always got some good stuff that I like.
Yeah. We're up to 26, huh? Got some new additions just stopped in. Dave F. Welcome, Dave. Nerd Visions is here. Alex is here. Hey, Alex. Good as gold. Cool. I don't know some of these people. That's great. We're grabbing some new people tonight.
Very
So
good.
welcome everybody. This is a safe place.
This is our safe space,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
You don't have to worry about anybody coming in and hurting you.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, so the next thing I think we were talking about was memorable purchases.
Yes, and memorable for many different reasons, of course.
Correct. And you and I didn't really talk about this ahead of time. We just brought it up together as kind of a topic. You brought it up, and I took it as maybe a different direction you did. I don't know which direction you went. I went old school, and for those of you that have seen some of my videos on my channel, you may recognize this. This is what I call my landfill box. And it's from the store, really the only store that I ever had as a kid that sold comic books. It's called Empire Comics. And no longer in business. The two brothers that ran it were twins. They both died of an extremely rare cancer, apparently.
Oh,
within 6 months of each other.
Oh, God. When was this? When was this? How long ago?
Probably about 5 years ago, at least.
Oh, okay, so fairly recently.
Yeah, fairly recently. Their stuff all sold at Heritage. Their sister inherited it. They backed up a 18-wheeler and they cleaned the place out. So
that's a shame.
Huge sales, just huge sales. The dream was always to get up to their attic because that's where they had so much stuff that they just couldn't keep up with it. And up in the attic were just stacks and stacks of Silver Age stuff, Silver and Golden Age books. They were just laying up there. So it would have been fun to get up there, before that all happened. Even just to look at everything would have been really fun. So the first two books I grabbed out of that box, and they used to have their coverless sale, and they would sell. You could get 20 for $1. And I remember the first time I went, I think it was like summer of '75. I started collecting in '74, summer of '74, and then by '75 I was rabid. I was really into comics. So I grabbed these two. I didn't know what they were. They were Creatures on the Loose. So this is issue 32 and 33. Now, this was drawn by George Tuska, who I also drew the Hulk and Champions, a few other things. This is actually drawn by George Perez and inked by Klaus Janson. And I just got it because it had a werewolf on it.
Okay.
And, this is the Man-Wolf, J. Jonah Jameson's son. He went to space and he got the gem on his chest and all that. But it was really cool. But when I took these out, I don't know if you've ever noticed this before, they have these EC-esque, I'd say, backstories in them. And I read both of them before we came on tonight. These are creepy as hell, these stories.
I never read them.
And I look at
maybe I misjudged Bronze Age Marvel horror.
Well, they're short. This one's called The Stooge. And it's only 3 pages. Tell me that doesn't look like an EC book.
It most certainly does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Of course, it's got the twist ending at the end. Oh, the guy's got 6 arms. That's
boy. Sort of like an Amazing Fantasy when the guys,
yeah. So what's funny is, as a kid, I just bypassed those. I probably got to the end of the werewolf story and like, yep, done, out.
Done.
Yeah.
I don't care about this other garbage.
Yeah, get this away from me. And then I also noticed as I was leafing through these that these were definitely a casualty.
Oh, of the Marvel stamp.
The Marvel stamp.
Well, at least yours is cut out nice and neatly. They didn't.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't remember if I did that though. I might have bought these like that.
Well, my original. That is cool.
It's just awesome. When you're a little kid, you're dreaming about getting this thing. 7-foot tall poster for $1. How awesome is that? If I stuck that on my wall, though, my mom would have freaked out. Get that off of there. Yep. So those are the first 2 that were in the box, and it just, I was joking with you before we got on. I could just sit and smell these things for an hour.
Like I said, they're
the newsprint. The new collectors don't know what they're missing, and people smell that now, and they're just like, "Oh, that smells like an old musty basement." But not to me, it doesn't. It smells like happiness.
Yeah, I always love the smell of old comic books. The good smell, not like the been exposed to not exposed to water, all that stuff. That's really cool.
Yep. So what did your memorable purchases come up?
Well, this one right here that I'm going to show you, the first one, it's memorable for a couple of reasons. One, because of the book, and two, because of something else. I got this one.
Oh,
Now, this is memorable for me because I remember when I first started collecting, this was a book that I really wanted. I had the giant size, and I just could not get my hands on this one because it was expensive. It always was expensive.
yeah.
And flash forward, maybe about 7 or 8 years later, after I stopped collecting the first time, I was on eBay. This is like 2001. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll check out what kind of comics they have on here. And I should have stuck with that back in 2001, but I didn't. And I originally purchased this off of eBay, but I never paid for it. So I got kicked off of eBay. I think it was $125 back in I don't remember the grade or anything like that. But it was $125 I paid on eBay back in 2001. And I was like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not paying that. And then I eventually got kicked off of eBay, and then I created a new account. So it's memorable for a couple of things. But then eventually, when I came back again, my wife bought this for me.
Oh, that is definitely memorable.
Yes.
Yeah, my wife bought for me Avengers 9.
Ah.
Your first appearance of Wonder Man.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters until he turned into a purple mist hero. He is now. Yeah, so it is funny how certain events and things get linked, and I used to, and I probably will again, do the paper time machine videos. And actually, all of these I could probably do one on. I remember the exact day when I bought those 2 books. I got a stack of books that day, and I only had $5, but still back then, getting at that 20 for $1 bin, that was like heaven for me.
Well, I remember, like, when I was first started collecting, I would go in there with like $20,
yeah,
$25, and you had to stretch that out.
Yeah,
which is the reason why I never was able to get things like this.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, that was the Grail book right there. That's the book everyone wanted. It wasn't giant size. It was Spider-Man 129, and in that book, no one even talked about Hulk 181. I mean, it wasn't even talked about. But that 94 was the one everybody wanted. And I had a raggedy one that I traded to my cousin, and last summer I gave back to him. 30 some years later, 40 years later, whatever it was. Trying to right the wrong that he felt the trade was unfair. That I doubt he has the books that I traded to him for. But the next one that I got, I remember, and it's very special to me because I only had 30 cents with me. And I went to a drugstore called Dawes, and they're no longer in business. The building's still there, and this is one I'll take with me, and I want to return it back to the place. But I was with my brother, and I don't remember what book he got, but I grabbed this one. And it's Daredevil 139. And this is the copy. All these books I'm showing you are from my landfill collection, my original collection. And I just remember coming home, and we lived by the water, and my brother and I, took this book, and we sat at my grandma's house, and she had a giant picture window, not unlike this one, looking out at the water, and we read this book together. And it's where I learned about what hemophilia is, because the little boy in here gets hurt, and he doesn't stop bleeding, and it's one of these day in the life kind of comic books. And this was popular with Spider-Man, where they just kind of follow Daredevil, all these little plots going on. And it's all street stuff. It's nothing epic. There's no one snapping their fingers and ending the universe. It's really just about Daredevil and whatever he did. But I love this book. And it just, every time I see it, it's got the great Gil Kane cover, of course. Every time I see it, though, I just think of me and my brother, and he had no responsibilities. We went to my grandma's house, and I remember drinking a Coke, and Coke back then would come in a 16-ounce bottle, and they were these weird shaped kind of thing, and they had like a styrofoam wrapper on them. They weren't paper. Yeah, they were like a styrofoam wrapper, and they were like a weird round. They looked like the 2 liters look now, only they were small, and they were glass and 16-ounce. But I remember we each got one, and it was a treat because we never got soda. So I remember we each got a Coke. We sat on that back room on that brown Naugahyde fake leather couch and read that comic. I think we read it like 3 or 4 times, and it just was it's a very happy memory for me. And of all the books I have in my collection that are worth thousands of dollars, that one means as much to me as anyone. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. Yeah.
I remember, it comes to Coke, and when I was growing up, we only had Diet Coke in the house.
Wow.
So when I went to a friend's house and they had regular Coke, I drank it and I was like, oh my God, this is awful.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Oh, I hated it.
Yeah.
I could not stand it. It's the same thing with skim milk. We always had skim milk in the house. Then whenever I go to someone's house and for whatever reason had whole milk, I was like, oh, this is awful.
You know,
this is absolutely awful.
You know, having a brother too, you always have these sick games that you play with your brother. They usually are violent or painful. And we used to play games to see who could keep their tongue in the Coke bottle the longest. You stick your tongue in there and turn that Coke bottle up, and you think it's no big deal. But after about 30 seconds, holy hell, does it start to burn?
Yeah, it's like.
We used to play with 9-volt batteries too. Who could hold the 9-volt on?
Oh God! Ooh, yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, when you're little boys, so and it's you and your brother, you just do stupid things. You know?
Yeah, but like that Coke trick, that's like turns into stomach acid pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, my next book. This is memorable for me because this was my first Golden Age purchase, and it was purchased at my first major con.
Oh.
The New York Comic Con. I mean, we talked about the shows that I've been to. I'm talking about the New York Comic Con.
Wow, that's a nice book to get first one.
Now, the reason why I went for this one is because it had Fitting Punishment in it.
I think he wants to come in. Uh-oh. Anyway, I don't think Little Reaper will be joining us right now. I can't wait to hear the rest of the story on that. So there's 32 of you on here. Silver Age Dave's still with us. Todd Hobeck's here. Nerd Division's on there. Let me go back. I'm going to scan backwards and see who else on. Oh, hey, Gumba. I haven't seen you in a little while. I don't know if you put any videos out. I haven't seen any. Cougar Comics. I missed you coming in. Hey, he's probably enjoying this weather.
Sorry about that. Had to handle Little Reaper.
That's all right.
Yeah. The reason why I went for that particular issue is because it had the story called Fitting Punishment in it. And that was one of my favorite episodes from the HBO show. Second season.
Yeah. Somebody just said something funny. Ironic that the book was about punishment. Yeah. I love that show, and I love the shows that it spawned. It kind of brought back Outer Limits. I think it had a hand in bringing that back. Tales from the Dark Side was on, and I remember one. I think it was called Dark Room. There was a show called Dark Room?
I don't remember Dark. I mean, there might have been. I don't remember.
Like the guy started off and he would show pictures and you'd see the red light bulb. And I remember that being pretty cool too. So
what, like Night Gallery?
No, it wasn't Night Gallery. I think it was called Tales from the Dark Room or something like that.
Or Dark Side.
No, not Dark Side. I remember that show. And then you had the Steven Spielberg one that was called
Amazing Stories.
Amazing Stories, yeah. That was a good one. I love those kind of shows. I wish they'd bring them back. Black Mirror's a lot like that.
Yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah, only with a lot more swearing and a whole lot more nudity for some reason.
Well, the Tales from the Crypt TV show had a lot of that too.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the Tales from the Crypt for me skewed over into a show that was called The Hitchhiker. Do you remember that show?
I do. I remember The Hitchhiker. Yeah.
I think most guys our age, that was like our before they had internet porn. That was porn, and those always had a really weird, twisted edge to them. But then they would mix in. There was like forbidden love and that kind of stuff going on at the same time. And when you were a younger kid, it just like you didn't care about that part of it. You're just like, yeah, get to the monster part,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Next for me is, it's funny that you showed the book that you did a few minutes ago. I'm still not sure. This last week I showed Giant Size X-Men 2, and I thought that was my first X-Men, but it might have been this X-Men number 95. And
oh yeah,
I specifically remember going to Keys Drugs and buying. Now it used to have a cover, but I loved this book so much, and I read this thing so much that the cover came off of it. but it's other than that, it's in great shape. I mean, it's really not rolled at all. It's just from so much of me opening and closing that the cover actually wore right off of it. But I love the story in this. Just a tragic end with Thunderbird dying. Sorry, spoilers, everybody. It just it was great. I love this story. My brother and I read this, and my cousin, who I gave 94 back to, he didn't have 95, so we'd trade every now and again. We'd see each other usually about at least once a month, and we'd always trade like 10 books that we didn't have and he didn't have. And then that way it was kind of nice. You trade your books back and forth. That's just what you did back then. And sometimes you get them back in not so good condition. So because some kids weren't as good with their comics as some of us were. So it was just a great story. This was.
Yeah, I remember I purchased my first copy of that back when I first started collecting.
Yeah.
And half the part, not half, I shouldn't say half, but part of the back page was ripped off. That's front cover, back cover, which is why I got it so cheap. But then eventually, years later, I upgraded it. But yeah, that was when I got that, I was like really happy to have that book. It was good.
I have replaced it because I wanted one with the cover, but obviously I'm never getting id of that book. I love that comic, and that'll be with. It's not worth anything anyway, so why would I get rid of it?
Yeah.
We're up to 35. Hey, Metarog's here.
Who?
Metarog.
Oh, hey, Roger.
I watched his video earlier today. I enjoyed that. I got a whole bunch of you guys all in my queue. It's been insanely busy with the remodel here and at work. So I've been watching a lot of the stuff. I haven't been commenting as much as I'd like to as I should. So, but I will. I'm going to get to all of you. Yeah.
For me, what's next is this.
Oh.
I purchased this in September of 1993. And I was really trying back then. I was really trying to get all Mary Jane appearances.
Oh.
And unfortunately, I didn't get the 15. I didn't find out that was sort of like a sort of cameo of Mary Jane. But I was super thrilled to finally get this one. Even though you really don't see her, her face is covered by like whatever, a scarf or whatever the hell.
Jameson's face on that though. Look at that face.
Yeah, I know.
It's just it's gleeful but evil at the same time.
Yeah, and he's in this. Well, he's not in this machine. It's the screen projecting his face. But this, I believe, is
think of it from an engineering standpoint. It served no purpose. I mean, the camera would have taken care of that.
Yeah, but this is my original. I still want to upgrade it. It's probably like a 3.5. This one. But yeah, this was very memorable for me because this was something that I really, really wanted back then.
Yeah, you're in 93.
Yeah, 93 was crazy. I was able to secure, quite a few Silver Age books, both in Spider-Man and in X-Men. I mean, they were, excuse me, they were low grade. But 93 and 94 were pretty decent years for my first year and a half of collecting.
You came out like a cannon.
I did.
I see that Charlton 66 joined us. We were just talking about you a few minutes ago. Welcome, Steve. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of y'all on here still. That's great. And as you can see outside, it's gotten dark. That's okay. I'll take the way that it's been. I don't know. Most of us here in the Northeast are looking at really nice weather coming up the next 4 days in a row, which is great for me. It's my birthday weekend, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Last year, your birthday was on St. Patrick's Day, right?
It is every year. Yep.
Oh, see.
March 17th.
Yeah, I didn't know.
That's why my name is what it is.
Yeah, I never celebrated St. Patrick's Day. I didn't know if it was a different day or whatever.
As a kid growing up, I didn't realize until kindergarten. I thought it was my holiday. When everyone would wear green and that my name was everywhere. I thought, this is great. This is the best thing ever. These people are all so nice. And then I got to kindergarten and my teacher that, St. Patrick's Day, I was so happy. And, I told her why. And she's like, well, honey, it's your day. That's when I learned who St. Patrick was and the whole snake thing and all that. So I was kind of depressed that day.
What's the snake thing?
He let all the snakes out of Ireland. That's the St. Patrick myth.
I have no idea.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know there was like
a test this year, and actually last year, and I found out I'm 15 to 18% Irish. So,
well, my son is Irish through a little bit of Irish from his mom, but she's practically all of Northern Europe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, That's I have a lot of Germanic, a lot of Scottish, Great Britain, a little bit of Norwegian, which I had no idea. So interesting.
no, she's like she's mainly English.
No,
And she has Irish, Scottish, Dutch, and
anyone that hasn't done it, do it. 23andMe Ancestry is what I did. It's pretty inexpensive. They run a sale. It's usually like $60, $50, but it is really cool. And I've not met, but I've connected with a lot of second cousins that I didn't even know I had. It's really, really cool. And then some other stuff has happened as well that I'm aware of that I won't get into here. But some other surprises happened, let's say.
Yes.
So is it my turn? Am I up next?
Yes, you are.
So this one was interesting because, as you know, my first comic I ever got was Khazar #5, or as some of you like to say, Khazar #5. I then went out and I bought myself #6.
Very nice.
And as you can see, by the way, I drew my P and my K backwards. I think I had dyslexia undiagnosed back then. And, back in the 70s, people didn't notice that kind of stuff. Oh, look at that. That's for you, Silver Age Dave. Check that out.
Whoa.
Peekaboo. What happened there? Oh, no.
Someone took maybe an X-Acto knife.
Yeah, no, I did that. I'm sure of that. I wasn't quite as neat as Nick is, but I was only, to be fair, I was only 5 years old, so.
Yeah, I think we could give you a pass.
Man, this is such great stories back then. Great freaking stories. Look at this one. He's fighting these giant bats. When you were a little kid, you're 5, 6 years old. It didn't get better than that. Compared to like having to read all the long-haired, Civil War crap they made you read in school and all that stuff. This was just freaking awesome.
I don't know if they
look at that guy's face.
Oh, jeez.
What's going on there? That's awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah, this always kind of reminded me of like a Tarzan meets Huckleberry Finn. That's why I like Khazar so much. And of course, he always had his, Zabu there. It was awesome. Saber-toothed tiger. I think it's a Joe Kubert cover. Looks like it, at least.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not really familiar with Joe Kubert.
He's him or Nick are the ones that can spot artists pretty good. And then the inside is John Buscema, of course. So Khazar definitely has a Conan look to him.
Oh yeah.
But this was pre-Conan, so great artwork.
Wait, when did that come out?
This would have been 1974.
And Conan came out
1974, yeah. Well, Conan came out before then. Conan was the first, what do they call it, direct market comic book, I think, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Metarog, speak up, please. I'm sure
Yeah.
I don't see Knights of Old or DS on here or Simon. Those are some of the more historian type guys that are on with us. So we don't have that with us.
So we're lacking some information.
Well, yeah, we're lacking some. Somebody's telling me to drink here.
Yeah, go ahead, drink.
It's just destined to drink Irish English. Yeah, it was Cougar Comics. Hey, Cougar. I don't know if you're going to any cons anytime soon. I think there are a couple coming up. Hopefully, I'll get to meet you. He had one of the first videos I ever saw in the comic community. It was his filing cabinet system that he made.
He was one of the first I watched too. I was watching his grading video.
Yeah.
On how to grade comics and so forth. He had the guide and he had the TOS 39 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He was one of the first that I watched, along with with a few others. Of course, like guys like Lightning and
Nick,
Hero. Yeah. No, Nick wasn't one of the first I watched.
Yeah,
believe it or not,
probably was the first one I watched because I wanted to. I knew how to clean a little bit, but I wanted to see what other people were doing, and he had his video on there. And if you watch his old videos, they're funny because he's so soft spoken when he's talking, and he's quiet, and he just kind of does his thing, and he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't get agitated like he does nowadays, which is my favorite part of his videos. So, all right, you're up.
Okay. Memorable purchase. Now, why is this a memorable purchase? I'm going to let other people answer this question. It's a test.
All right.
I like giving tests out.
Yeah, you're our professor after all.
I do. I am, and I.
Well, I know why that is, but
All right. Anybody in the comments care to
there's a
answer?
couple reasons though, because that's not your original copy.
No.
No.
TikTok.
TikTok, we gotta allow for the delay.
Hmm.
You know, there aren't too many people doing trivia contests anymore on here, are there?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Nick used to run one, and I kind of remember. I want to say the TiVo used to do one.
Maybe.
But I gotta believe that's got to be annoying as hell, though, trying to run one of those with lag and people's internet.
Yeah, that's not easy to do. That's definitely difficult.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any answers?
Todd Hobeck says favorite cover.
Yes, he's right.
Yep, he's right. Ghastly. Yep, Maurice got it.
Okay, guys, you
it's a full-on dog pile now.
Yeah, you guys get the 100.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely my favorite cover. I enjoyed, I think every story in Haunt 12 has been used in media, and the media, either the movie from the 70s or on the TV show. For instance, the first one, which is the cover story, was Poetic Justice, which was in the Tales from the Crypt movie from 1972. Okay. I don't remember what comes second or third or whatever like that, but I do know What's Cooking is also in this. That was an episode in the 4th season of HBO with Christopher Reeve as the star. It had Christopher Reeve, Judd Nelson, and Meatloaf. But those were that was a great episode, because the 4th season I thought was one of the weakest of the show.
Another great in everything I've ever seen him in, by the way.
What's that?
Going way back to Rocky Horror Picture Show when he played Eddie.
Meatloaf.
Yeah, and then he also in Fight Club, he was fantastic in.
I never saw Fight Club.
Oh my God, you got to watch that. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I heard good things about it, but I never saw it. Yeah. Another story in that one is On a Dead Man's Chest, which was also 4th season Tales from the Crypt TV series. Yeah. There's another one in here. I forget what it is, but it's also something.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the void created by Marvel pulling out of Netflix, that Netflix maybe reaches out to EC.
Well, they are, in a way. I mean, I heard recently that something's going on with EC. I know there's always been talk of that. I don't know who they're dealing with, but there is talk. I don't know who owns EC or the rights to do this. Yeah. But I heard that there is talk that something is coming. Yeah. Because some of the EC books have started to spike again.
Yeah. Well, I just think that they're ready-made. I think the culture's out there, and Black Mirror's got a little bit of that in it, but it doesn't have the same level of creepiness. It's more of a technological edge show. And Black Mirror, I think, is referring to the phones that we all hold when they're not on. They're basically a Black Mirror. But I think it's perfect. It's a perfect thing, and there's a ready-made audience. You got all these comic guys that are missing out on comic shows now, because now I see that, of course, DC is pulling and canceling all their shows, like Arrow and all these other things. So because they're going to want to have their own content on their own channels, so they're not going to license that to other people. They're going to control it. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think, and that's the other thing we need to say hooray about, that the deal actually went through, and I think the 20th they're going to be announcing something with Marvel, and Disney and Fox and all that all happened. So
make sure you stock up on your Fantastic Fours and X-Men books. You never know.
Well, X-Men, and there's a lot of first appearances in Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion that you're going to see Silver Surfer. I mean, if they choose not to use Silver Surfer, that I don't understand it. Sure. But I will say this: I think another one that you're probably going to see, maybe, I don't know what extent, is Annihilus.
Yeah. I totally think you will, and I hope for it. I think that the Annihilation Wave storyline really lends itself to where they're going to be after this storyline, and that could be the next big thing that they build up to.
Yeah, if they're going to space, and there's a lot of space stuff around with Fantastic Four, even Guardians of the Galaxy, what's left of that. Yeah. A lot of tie-ins to some of these characters.
I mean, you have Nova that you could pull him in.
Well, wasn't there an announcement that he was going to appear?
I believe so. I think like Quasar, characters like that you'll see. And then I think you're going to see the next wave on Disney's entertainment when that comes out. For guys like Moon Knight and characters like that, I think is where they're going to surface. And I think that the way that this will be done is you'll have linkage that you've never had between the small and the big screen before.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, the only character that's done that is Coulson.
Oh yes. Yes.
You know, Coulson's the only one that's been on the big screen and on the other show. So
right.
I think you'll see more of that where they'll outwardly reference each other. Now you may not see those big characters like Thor or Iron Man on the Disney streaming service, but you're for sure going to see linkages between the two.
They should.
But anyway, I do hope for Netflix to do EC shows, because what they've done with Stranger Things and what they've done with Black Mirror and some of these other things, I think they could do a really, really good job of it.
I mean, honestly, though, I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
They're making TV shows out of books that you never thought would be a TV show, or books you never even heard of.
Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah. Where did that come from? It came out.
It was so out there, and it was done so well. I haven't seen Doom Patrol yet, but I've seen a lot of reviews of it. People love it.
Yeah.
I think that's another one. No one would have ever thought the Doom Patrol. Really, they're going to make a Doom Patrol TV show.
If you would have asked me years ago, are they going to make a? They're going to make the. If you would have told me, rather, if you would have told me they were going to make a movie on the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
Laugh at Eternals, but
exactly, that's another one.
Yeah, and so much happened in that book, and so many characters were introduced in there that are still around in comics today. I think it'd be really cool. So, hoping that they do it, and as long as they keep Kevin Feige at the steering wheel, I think things are going to go very well.
I agree.
Well,
you're up.
I'm up. Well, here's my last book, and I can dig in more because I have a whole entire box here of stuff.
I got a couple more, but
talk about this book. Is Avengers 130, and it's my second Avengers. My first one was 129 with Kang on the cover, and I think I showed that last week. But again, I'm displaying my severe dyslexia I think I had at the time. And for whatever reason, when I got a marker and I first realized I could write on the covers of these, I wrote all over everything. I wrote, here's my name on this thing on the back. But anyway, I love this story. This was a thing that they did a lot back in the 70s, where they'd show the heroes and the villains, and they were clashing. And this was just a fun story. Yeah, there's not earth shattering, but when you were a little kid, this was just, it had all your favorite heroes fighting these guys. It was great. This guy here, the Slasher, wasn't even a real character. He was robbing a bank, and he just kind of stumbled upon the battle and joined in with the bad guys. Like, hey, yeah, I'll be with you guys now.
Got a drive-by.
I think they actually turned on him, if I remember right. I think he ends up getting killed. So look at poor Hawkeye. Just gets to stick his head out. He's really not in this.
Poor Hawkeye.
Never got his just due till they killed the Hulk. Yeah. So that
he
was.
Killed the Hulk. Yeah.
But I just remember this was one of my times where I was a kid, and I lived in a pretty remote location. So anytime I could go and tag a ride and get to where there was going to be comic books, I didn't care what it was. And this particular time was pure torture. It was my mom and my grandma, which I love both of them. I love being with them. But when they got together, they nonstop talked. They were 5 years old, and they would go to all these stores that you wanted nothing to do.
Jeez.
You did not want to. The only reason I go to the drugstore is because they had comic books. But back then, you'd be waiting, and like your grandma had to get her medicine or whatever, and you'd just be waiting and waiting. And every now and again, you'd go to a pharmacy that didn't have comics, and that was the worst. But this one, if I take it out of the package, still smells like a drugstore.
Oh.
And
so what does it smell like? I
don't know. If you walk into like a CVS now, there's a smell that drugstores have, that only drugstores have, and yep, it still has that smell. And I don't know what that smell is, but hey, Silver Age Dave.
Oh, boy. Jeez.
I was not careful with that one. Look at that. I think I cut that out of there with like a butter knife. Yeah, but I love this book. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, let's get to the last page here. Yeah, but it definitely still smells like, yeah, they turn on him.
Yeah, of course, the Slasher.
Actually, the Vision is the one that does them in.
Oh, and has he?
He just blasts them. He blasts them with his heat vision. Drags the guy. He drops the diamonds. And of course, the villain just say, "Screw you, we're out of here." Those commie bastards. Got the two Russians, and then I think the other guy was Vietnamese. What a great comic, though. What a great, great comic. Drawn by Sal Buscema, I believe, on the inside. Yep. Steve Englehart was the writer. It's great artwork, though. I know it's blasphemous, but I like Sal Buscema's artwork better than John Buscema.
Really brings you back, though.
It does. Look at that. Look at that cover. Look at poor guys running from those guys. And that's where the conflict starts, because they just murder the guy basically right in front of the Avengers. Yeah. And he's just this poor guy running, and they just, Titanium Man and Crimson Dynamo just fry the guy in front of them. That's what I like. The conflicts were simple back then. They kill a village guy, and the Avengers snap to and freak out. So anyway, that's I clearly remember reading this in the back of our Dodge Dart on the way home, and I endured, I think, dress trying on at J.C. Penney, sitting on a hardback chair, knowing that I had to wait to go get to the pharmacy to get something, and I had a quarter, and I bought that comic. That was a memorable purchase for me.
Yeah, yeah, sounds it.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
Well, we're going back to 1993 again.
Oh,
the end of 1993.
What a hot year.
It was. It really was.
Funny, because that's where oh yeah, I know that story.
Yes. Like you said, you could remember purchasing that day when you came home with a stack of books. You
Yep.
can remember doing all these different things. Well, I remember buying some of these in 1993, and some of the memories kind of foggy.
Yeah.
But this one I can remember right up to the day, the hour when I got this thing.
My favorite part of that story, though, is the way your dad handled it when he handed it to you.
Oh yeah, he was never really a careful person. Like if you gave him something, he'd break it. Because that's just the way he was. He's not
rough on stuff.
He was rough. Everything he had, if you had to do something delicately, he would snap it, or something like that. It was just never really worked for him, and neither did this. But I think because of it, it got a little bit of a grade dip, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that, because of that story, because of that memory and all that stuff, very memorable. Now, I often said, one day I'd like to get, even though it's probably like a 7.5, 8.0, I would like to get a higher grade, but I would never sell that one.
No,
because I could just go back and reach into when I got it, and it's associated with that particular copy rather than the book.
That's awesome.
So that's me. So, you have anything else, Patrick? Well, I mean, we have 2 more minutes.
And this was at the height of Evel Knievel. So I can remember walking in again to Dawes Drugs, and this was sitting on the rack.
Oh.
So of course, to a young kid, I think this was 76 probably, so I would have been like 7 years old. I instantly grabbed this thing, and I was looking at this, before we came on. It's in amazingly good shape. I'd say this is probably a solid 6.0.
Oh wow!
For a 7-year-old kid to have,
considering the condition of your other books, that you handled, I'm surprised you didn't write your name on this one.
Yeah, well, by the time I was 7, I really started taking good care of my books. They always got put away, and I would make sure I was sitting somewhere flat when I read them. Some of them I didn't care so much about. Like I'm looking here, this goofy ass thing, Machine Man. Or Plastic Man, I'm sorry. I didn't care.
It's pretty cool cover, though.
Yeah, this one's even better.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Now
that you think about it, actually, Plastic Man, ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, Plastic Man wasn't a DC original, right? Wasn't he one of the ones that came over? Was it Fawcett, or which one did he come over from?
I think he came. He was. I don't think he was a DC original. I don't know which company he came from, but ooh, that's nice.
That's a killer cover.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Now, when I think of Morbius, this is the cover I think of.
I should try to. I should get that cover. Yeah. I should go buy that book. Yeah, I don't know where Plastic Man came from, but I know he wasn't a DC original.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Fawcett. I don't know.
See, and again, here's Adventure into Fear. So and you had the front story was oh, look at that great little article picture there. It was my favorite.
Oh wow, Deathlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Was there a stamp in that one, Patrick? That's gone now.
Let me look. You know, what's funny is by this time I realized what reprints were. So I can tell I never bagged reprints and I never treated them kindly. I would get like, was it World's Greatest Comic or whatever? It was the Fantastic Four reprints. But these had these great little stories in the back. And this one's called The Last Stop. And I remember reading this. But again, it's very much to my eye in the way that the way that there's verbiage and things in there. This sure looks like an EC story to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. No doubt.
It's a 2-page story, 3-page story. Well, you know what? I take that back. A 4-page story. But look at this. Not only is the value stamp gone,
the whole page is gone.
the whole page is gone. So how I don't think I did that one. God, I love that cover. It's another Gil Kane. It appears to me that either Gil Kane or Jack Kirby drew every single cover for Marvel back in that time period.
I know Dr. Von Schill would love that cover.
Yeah. And here's more. You can see more of the coverless Avengers. This is 132, and I think this is 128 maybe. But it was just such, when you were a kid, oh, this one's got sand on it too.
Oh yeah, there you go.
But 20 comics for $1, even though they didn't have covers, who cares?
Yeah.
But here's what I bought a lot of reprints because I liked some of the older stories, and there was absolutely no way of getting it. Apparently, someone needed to test out a pen on the back of this.
Yeah, I'd say the pen works.
Yeah, it was funny to me is that, and they said, I don't think that's supposed to be black. I think someone colored that in.
I was about to say, like, look kind of odd.
If you think about it, these back then, these were just magazines to people. No different than someone's reading Time magazine today or whatever magazine they're reading. And I just remember this great story with the lizard.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man had his arm in a sling. He couldn't really fight very well.
Not a good time to get into a fight with the lizard.
Yeah, he never seemed to get the best of him either.
Yeah.
I never really stomped him good like I wanted him to. Look at this, there's some jazzy music going on there. I love when these guys would write, and obviously they were so out of touch with what was actually popular and going on in the real world. The dialogue in some of these is great. Yeah, he's pining about Gwen Stacy right here. He's thinking about her.
Aw.
Yeah, it's sad. So sad. Marvel Tales. I got a lot of Marvel Tales in here. A lot of Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
More coverless books. This one always intrigued me. Yeah, it was originally presented in Captain America #4. So look at the artwork. There's that castle up on the hill. What's that remind you of?
What was that?
What's that remind you of? Does that look kind of like Detective 31 a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the monk. Yeah. The way it's like up on the hill, and there's like almost like, what is that? Is that a river?
I think
Stream?
so. Maybe
It's
like
not a road.
a moat.
Yeah, a moat. Okay. All right.
Well, look at the artwork, though, if you can call it that.
Still
Totally had like a Sunday funny look to it.
Well, that's the way a lot of them were back then in the golden age. A lot of panels, and had that.
Look at that guy.
Was that Muckman?
I think it's the Glob. Isn't that who that is?
I don't know.
Where's DS Comics? He would know. It Lives. That's pretty cool. I kind of want to read this now. Oh, that ink and the newsprint together. It's euphoric. Oh.
Well, it's 8:05.
All right.
We went over a little.
That's okay.
But
everyone, thanks for hanging out. Hey, Sleepy Reader. Hey, Damien. I got to watch your video. You're in my queue. Liking the covers. I haven't seen him in a while. Hello. Yeah, it looks like everyone hung in there pretty good. Well, thanks.
That's good.
Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. Just listening to two comic collectors rattle on about they're some of their favorite purchases.
Hopefully, we'll have more stories next week.
Yeah, it's funny is we both went the kind of the same direction without knowing it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily valuable because you're always going to remember. Like I remember when I bought Fantastic Four 1 from Scott Johnson, or when I bought Avengers #4, because I think you were on. I was texting with you back and forth saying I'm going to offer this, and you're like, go for it, and I did it, and then I ended up getting it. Or recently, Amazing Spider-Man 121. I think I told you when I was pulling the trigger on that.
Yep.
And actually, now that I think about it, you were there with Silver Surfer #1 as well when I bought.
I was. I was there for every major purchase you made.
Yeah, down in Charlotte too. We were Mike and you and I. We were down there all together. So I'd say that weekend, the three of us got some insane books if you looked at them as a group.
Yeah, I got the Fantastic Four 5, the Tales from the Crypt 33, Detective 400, and a couple of things.
Four #5 you got down there.
Yeah. That's right.
And Mike got ridiculous books, so much that he got scoliosis, I think, from how heavy his backpack. I bought way more than I thought I was gonna. So I'm looking forward to it again. Heading on down. You still leaning towards you think you might go?
I don't think so.
All right. So I still have several months to talk you into it.
Yeah, it's going to take some talking into, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it this year.
All right. Well, we'll have to bring like a giant cutout of you.
Yes, please do.
I'll have to buy some EC books so that they don't feel bad when I'm down there. There's still 23 people hanging in there. It's a little bit after 8, everybody. I'll be a year older next time you see me. And I think next Wednesday is okay for me. I think it is for you as well.
Yeah.
Shoot us some questions. I will go through and read all the chat tonight. And if there's questions in there, I'll try to answer it. If we misspoke, I'll try to make corrections as well. It's kind of fun for me to do.
Yeah, we often misspeak. So
yeah. You phone it's live. It's not like we get another take on this thing. If we misspoke, I know I called somebody something that they weren't. Anyway. I'm sure I'll think of it afterward. So hopefully we'll see what I get for my birthday. My secret admirer sent me this box, so this will be getting opened on my birthday. So I'm looking forward to that. And I guess till next time, everybody. You got anything else, Anthony?
No, we'll save some stuff for next week.
All right. I'm on the hunt. I got a couple big things in the works, so we'll see what happens. Mike found, I think, it could be a very, very good honey hole. So we'll see how that pans out. I talked to him right before the show tonight, and it's looking good. So we'll see what happens. It's a block of 500 late silver, early bronze books.
Best of luck.
I know. I'm really hoping. I hope he gets it because that'll be a lot of fun to get those. We'll go through and clean them and slab them. So, but anyway, thank you all for coming. Until next time, life, liberty, and the pursuit of comic books.
Take care, everyone.